let's talk about something that many women wonder about, but few openly discuss. There are certain intimate behaviors men seem deeply drawn to, and understanding why can feel confusing, even overwhelming. But here's the truth. When you understand the emotional and psychological drivers behind attraction, desire stops feeling mysterious and starts making sense. This isn't just about physical acts, it's about connection, validation, confidence, and the deeper layers of intimacy that create real chemistry between two people. When people think about attraction, they often reduce it to something purely physical, as if it's just about instinct or visual appeal. But the truth is, for many men, desire is deeply tied to meaning. It's not just about what's happening physically, it's about what that moment represents emotionally. There's a strong psychological element where being able to give pleasure becomes part of how a man defines his role in the connection. It's less about taking and much more about contributing to your experience. What this means is that when a man is drawn to more intimate expressions of affection, it often comes from a place of wanting to feel effective, appreciated, and connected. He wants to feel like he can create a moment where you are fully present, enjoying yourself, and emotionally engaged. That feeling for him builds a sense of purpose. It reassures him that he's not just there physically, but that he's actually making an impact on how you feel. There's also a layer of curiosity and attentiveness involved. When someone cares about your reactions, your comfort, and your pleasure, they naturally become more focused on understanding you. That focus creates a stronger bond because it shifts the dynamic from something self-centered to something shared. It becomes less about performance and more about connection. And connection is what sustains attraction over time. Another important factor is the sense of closeness that comes from being fully engaged in a moment together. When there are no distractions, no overthinking, and no pressure, it allows both people to be more authentic. That authenticity is what makes the experience feel real and meaningful. For many men, being able to create that kind of environment where you feel safe, relaxed, and open is incredibly rewarding. At the same time, this desire is closely linked to emotional feedback. Even if it's not always expressed in words, men are constantly reading how you respond. Your comfort, your energy, and your level of engagement all communicate something. When those signals are positive, it reinforces his confidence and deepens his emotional investment. He begins to associate those moments with a sense of success and connection, rather than just a physical interaction. It's also worth understanding that this isn't about perfection or technique, it's about intention. A man who is genuinely interested in your experience will naturally be more attentive and more connected. That attentiveness is what creates the emotional layer that goes beyond the physical. Without that, the moment can feel empty. With it, the experience becomes something that strengthens the bond between you. So when you look at it from this perspective, it becomes clear that desire is rarely just about the surface level. It's about feeling valued, feeling connected, and feeling like you are part of something mutual. When both people are engaged in that way, the experience becomes less about what is happening and more about what it means. And that meaning is what makes it powerful. For many men, attraction is closely tied to the feeling that they can bring genuine pleasure and happiness into your world. It's not simply about being present in an intimate moment. It's about feeling like they are actively contributing to your experience in a meaningful way. This desire to give is often a core part of how they express care, interest, and even affection. When a man feels that he can make you feel good, it strengthens his sense of connection and reinforces his confidence within the relationship. This doesn't come from ego alone. It's deeply rooted in emotional wiring. Many men grow up associating their value with what they can provide, whether that's support, protection, or happiness. In romantic situations, that instinct naturally carries over into how they approach intimacy. Being able to give pleasure becomes one of the clearest ways they can demonstrate that they are attentive, capable, and invested in you. It becomes less about impressing you and more about fulfilling a role that feels meaningful to them. There's also a strong element of focus involved. When a man is genuinely invested in giving, his attention shifts entirely toward you, your reactions, your comfort, and your enjoyment. That level of attentiveness creates a different kind of energy. It makes the moment feel less rushed and more intentional. And when something feels intentional, it naturally becomes more intimate and more memorable for both people involved. What's interesting is that this giving dynamic often creates a feedback loop. The more he feels that you are enjoying the moment, the more motivated and confident he becomes. That confidence then enhances the overall experience, making him even more engaged. It's not about perfection or performance, it's about the emotional response he perceives from you. Even subtle cues like relaxation, presence, or a sense of ease can have a powerful impact on how he feels. At the same time, this desire to give is closely connected to feeling appreciated. Men may not always ask for validation directly, but they are highly responsive to it. When they sense that their efforts are noticed and valued, it strengthens their emotional connection. It tells them that what they are doing matters and that they are creating something meaningful between you. Without that sense of appreciation, the experience can feel one-sided, but with it, it becomes something that both of you are building together. Another layer to this is the idea of generosity in attraction. True connection often comes from a place where both people are focused on each other's experience, rather than just their own. When a man leans into giving, it reflects a willingness to be present, attentive, and emotionally engaged. That kind of generosity is what transforms a simple moment into something deeper and more connected. So when you understand this dynamic, it becomes clear that the motivation isn't just physical, it's emotional and psychological. It's about feeling capable of creating happiness, feeling connected through shared experience, and feeling valued in the process. When those elements come together, the act of giving becomes one of the most powerful ways a man can express his attraction and strengthen his bond with you. There's a quiet but powerful truth that often goes unspoken. Men seek emotional reassurance just as much as women do. They just tend to experience and interpret it differently. For many men, moments of intimacy become one of the clearest ways they receive that reassurance. It's not always about hearing words of affirmation. It's about feeling, through your presence and response, that they are appreciated, accepted, and doing something right. That's where emotional validation begins to play a significant role. When a man feels emotionally validated, it gives him a sense of security within the connection. It tells him that he's not being judged, that he's not falling short, and that he's able to meet you in a way that matters. This feeling can be incredibly grounding. Without it, even the most confident man can start to question himself. But when it's there, it allows him to relax, to be more present, and to engage more deeply with you. What's important to understand is that this validation often comes from subtle signals rather than grand gestures. It can be the way you respond, the way you relax into the moment, or the way you show that you're comfortable and engaged. These small cues carry a lot of meaning because they communicate something beyond words. They show that you trust the moment, and by extension, trust him. That sense of trust is one of the strongest forms of validation he can feel. There's also an emotional layer tied to acceptance. Everyone, at some level, fears rejection or inadequacy. For men, those fears can sometimes show up as pressure to perform or to meet certain expectations. When those pressures are replaced with a sense of acceptance, it changes everything. Instead of feeling like they have to prove themselves, they begin to feel like they can simply be present. And that shift from performance to presence is where real connection starts to grow. Another aspect of emotional validation is how it strengthens his willingness to invest in you. When a man feels that his efforts are recognized and appreciated, it naturally encourages him to give more of himself. He becomes more attentive, more engaged, and more interested in building something meaningful. It's not because he's trying to earn approval, but because he feels that his presence already matters. That feeling creates a positive cycle where both people become more open and connected over time. It's also worth noting that validation doesn't mean exaggeration or pretending. In fact, authenticity is what makes it effective. Genuine reactions, honest comfort, and real engagement carry far more weight than anything forced. Men are often more perceptive than they're given credit for, and they can sense when something is real versus when it's not. When your response is authentic, it creates a deeper level of trust and emotional connection. Ultimately, emotional validation is about creating an environment where both people feel seen, appreciated, and comfortable being themselves. For a man, that feeling can be incredibly powerful because it reassures him that he's not just physically present, but emotionally significant in your life. And when that sense of significance is established, it transforms the entire dynamic from something surface level into something deeply meaningful and lasting. At the heart of any meaningful connection is a sense of intimacy that goes beyond surface level attraction. Intimacy isn't just about physical closeness, it's about emotional openness, trust, and the feeling that you can be fully yourself with someone without fear of judgment. For many men, moments of deep connection are where this sense of intimacy becomes most real, because they represent a space where both people are letting their guard down at the same time. Trust plays a central role in this dynamic. When a woman feels comfortable enough to be present, relaxed, and open, it sends a powerful signal. It communicates that she feels safe, that she trusts the moment, and that she trusts him. That kind of trust is not something men take lightly. It creates a sense of responsibility, but also a deep sense of appreciation. He begins to recognize that what you're sharing isn't just physical, it's something more personal and meaningful. This is where the connection starts to deepen. When trust is present, it removes the need for pretense. There's no need to impress, no need to overthink, and no need to hold back. Both people can simply be in the moment, responding naturally to each other. That level of authenticity is what creates a stronger bond because it allows for real emotional exchange rather than a performance. And when something feels real, it naturally becomes more impactful. Another important aspect of intimacy is vulnerability. Vulnerability often gets misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it's one of the strongest ways people connect. When someone allows themselves to be seen without filters, it creates an opportunity for a deeper emotional bond. For men, experiencing that vulnerability from a partner can be incredibly powerful. It shows that there's a level of comfort and acceptance in the relationship that goes beyond the surface. At the same time, this vulnerability often encourages men to open up in their own way. While they may not always express emotions verbally, they respond to environments where they feel safe to be themselves. When they sense that there's no judgment, no pressure, and no expectation to be perfect, they become more relaxed and more emotionally available. That shift is what allows the connection to grow stronger over time. There's also a sense of exclusivity that comes with intimacy and trust. When you share moments that feel deeply personal, it creates a bond that feels unique to the two of you. It's not something that can be easily replicated, and that uniqueness adds value to the relationship. It makes the connection feel special, something worth investing in and protecting. Ultimately, intimacy and trust are what transform attraction into something lasting. Without them, interactions can feel temporary or disconnected, but when they are present, they create a foundation that supports deeper emotional connection. For a man, being part of that kind of connection reinforces his sense of belonging and significance in your life. So it's not just about what's happening in the moment, it's about what that moment represents. It represents a space where both people feel safe, accepted, and connected. And when that space exists, it allows the relationship to move beyond the surface and into something much more meaningful. One of the biggest misconceptions people have when it comes to attraction is the idea that everything depends on technique or getting things perfect. In reality, what creates a powerful connection is not perfection. It's confidence and comfort. These two qualities shape the entire energy of an interaction, and that energy is what people respond to on a deeper level. Confidence, in this context, isn't about arrogance or trying to impress. It's about being at ease with yourself. It's the ability to be present without constantly questioning how you look, what you're doing, or whether you're getting everything right. When you're comfortable in your own skin, it naturally removes tension from the moment. That lack of tension allows things to flow more naturally, which is what makes an experience feel genuine rather than forced. For men, this sense of ease is incredibly impactful. When a woman is relaxed and confident, it sends a clear message that she feels safe and secure in the moment. That reassurance allows him to relax as well. Instead of feeling pressure to perform or meet some unspoken standard, he can simply engage with you in a more authentic way. This creates a dynamic where both people are feeding off each other's comfort, making the connection stronger and more enjoyable. On the other hand, when there's too much focus on technique or doing things right, it can create a kind of mental distance. Overthinking pulls you out of the moment and turns something natural into something mechanical. And when something feels mechanical, it loses its emotional depth. Attraction thrives on presence, not perfection. It's about how you feel in the moment, not how flawlessly you execute every detail. Comfort also plays a key role in building trust. When you're at ease, it shows that you're not holding back or putting up walls. That openness invites the other person to do the same. It creates a space where both people feel free to be themselves without fear of judgment. For many men, this kind of environment is incredibly appealing because it removes the pressure to constantly prove themselves. It allows them to connect with you on a more human level. Another important aspect is that confidence enhances communication without words. Your body language, your energy, and your presence all communicate how you feel. When those signals reflect comfort and self-assurance, they create a sense of clarity. There's no confusion, no mixed signals, just a natural flow of interaction. That clarity makes it easier for both people to connect and respond to each other in a genuine way. It's also worth understanding that confidence doesn't mean you have to feel perfect all the time. It's okay to have moments of uncertainty. What matters is how you carry yourself despite those moments. Confidence is often about accepting yourself as you are, rather than trying to meet an unrealistic standard. That acceptance is what makes your presence feel real and relatable. Ultimately, the most meaningful connections are not built on flawless execution. They're built on authenticity. When you're comfortable and confident, you create an environment where real connection can happen. And for a man, being part of that kind of experience is far more powerful than anything based on technique alone. It's what turns a simple interaction into something memorable and emotionally significant. One of the most overlooked aspects of attraction is a man's desire to feel wanted and chosen. While it's often assumed that men are always the pursuers, the reality is that they also crave reassurance that the connection is mutual. They want to feel like they're not just the one initiating or giving, but that you are equally engaged and genuinely interested in them. That sense of being wanted carries a deep emotional weight, and it can significantly shape how they experience intimacy and connection. For many men, feeling desired isn't always about hearing it directly. It's about sensing it through your energy, your presence, and your level of engagement. When you are fully present, when you respond naturally, and show that you're enjoying the moment, it sends a clear signal that you are choosing to be there with them. That choice matters. It tells him that this isn't one-sided and that the connection is something you both value. This feeling of being wanted also ties into a man's sense of confidence. When he feels that you are genuinely attracted to him, it reinforces his belief in himself and in the connection you share. That confidence then allows him to be more open, more expressive, and more invested. It creates a positive cycle where both people feel encouraged to give more of themselves, strengthening the bond between you. At the same time, being wanted goes beyond physical attraction. It's about emotional presence. It's about showing that you're not just there out of habit or expectation, but because you genuinely enjoy being with him. That kind of authenticity is powerful because it removes doubt. When a man feels certain that your interest is real, it allows him to relax and fully engage without second-guessing himself. There's also an important element of balance here. The strongest connections are built when both people feel equally valued and desired. If one person feels like they are always giving while the other is simply receiving, It can create an imbalance that weakens the connection over time. But when desire is mutual, when both people are actively choosing each other, it creates a sense of partnership. It becomes something shared, rather than something one person is responsible for maintaining. Another layer to this is emotional security. When a man feels wanted, it reduces the fear of rejection or inadequacy. It reassures him that he's enough as he is and that he doesn't need to constantly prove his worth. That sense of security allows him to be more genuine and more present, which in turn deepens the emotional connection. It creates an environment where both people can be themselves without fear. It's also worth noting that feeling wanted doesn't require grand gestures. Often, it's the small, consistent signals that matter most. A genuine response, a sense of ease, or simply being fully present can communicate more than words ever could. These subtle cues build a foundation of trust and mutual appreciation that strengthens the relationship over time. Ultimately, the desire to feel wanted is about more than attraction. It's about connection and belonging. For a man, knowing that he is chosen, appreciated, and genuinely desired creates a powerful emotional bond. And when that bond is present, it transforms the entire dynamic into something deeper, more balanced, and far more meaningful.